Hello everyone, welcome back to my page. Last year I had the amazing experience of being able to visit Mexico. Ever since my junior year of high school, I had always wanted to visit Mexico. I tell people this all the time. I have no idea where this obsession with Mexico came from, but I always wanted to visit Mexico. And I had a family member that tried to get me to visit Mexico towards the end of high school, but the plans just never panned out. Once I got to college, I really wanted to study abroad, learn about different cultures. I just really wanted to travel, and that was something that I spoke about so much all throughout high school. So once I got to college, I was like, study abroad, I definitely want to do. Just a mini backstory. I have been so in awe at the Hispanic culture for so long. So if you guys don't know, I'm actually Jamaican. And my mom, when I was like a toddler, actually attempted to teach me and my siblings Spanish. She bought us little like Spanish books with the numbers, the colors, the objects. However, my mom herself did not speak Spanish. Plus, general in Jamaica, you won't find a lot of Spanish speaking people there to begin with. So we were kind of exposed to the basics of Spanish. So I always knew uno all the way to diez, pero I was not fluent at all. I remember in elementary school, we used to have this thing called specials, which was basically just extracurricular activities that you had during school. I remember I had a Spanish teacher, and then I took high school Spanish 1 and Spanish 2 in middle school. And then once I got to high school, towards my junior and senior year, I took college beginner Spanish 1 and college beginner Spanish 2. The issue with that is, just like any other skill out there when it comes to a language, if you are not actually utilizing and practicing it, you will lose the skill. For the most part, I wasn't really around people that were speaking to me in Spanish. Plus, after I took those classes and I got the credits, I wasn't really saying much phrases in Spanish. I would always say buenos dias, buenas tardes, buenas noches, y mi madre, I would call my mom mi madre, pero that was it. Last summer, I basically spent the entire month of July in Mexico. For 5 weeks, basically, I was in Mexico. It was a really amazing experience. I would say the most remarkable experiences was being able to visit the Mayan pyramids. I would say was probably a really huge highlight of the trip. We went to Esca, we went to Labna, we went to a pyramid in Izamal, we went to a pyramid in Calakmul. Basically spent a vast majority of my time in Merida because that was where the university that I studied at was located. But then we also went on excursions every week to various places and cities all throughout the Yucatan Peninsula. So just on top of my head, we went to Celestune, we went to Rio Los Gatos, we went to Izamal, we went to Calakmul. Those are the only ones I can talk about on top of my head. I can probably insert a few other cities that we went to up there. But yeah, I got to experience basically just traveling all throughout the Yucatan Peninsula. I would say it was a really remarkable experience. I really loved Mexican culture. It was really beautiful. Some other highlights of the trip in Mexico was being able to visit a woman's domestic abuse shelter and orphanage. We also got to visit some local Mayan businesses. We also got to try Mayan food, and oh my goodness, this was actually a really crazy encounter. We went to go and buy some hammocks, and the Mayan woman just invited us in for a cooking class. So we went to a cooking class where they were showing us how they made tortillas, and we had the opportunity to make some as well. We also got to go on a few boat rides in Rio Los Gatos. We also went on a boat ride in Celestune. So that was, I would probably say, the highlights of the trip. Now on to some facts about Mexico that I did not know until I got there. Specifically, Merida is actually the hottest city in Mexico. And when I tell you, I did not know until I went there. It was really hot there. And because the electricity bill in Merida is so high, we were only allowed to use the AC at nighttime. But I actually stayed with a host family. It was a very beautiful family. I'm still in contact with them to this day. I love them so much. Basically it was to help us to get like acclimated to the culture there. They were there to guide us through anything, if we needed any like assistance. Also, when it came to like food or whatnot, like they provided food for us. Some random facts about Mexico that I didn't know until I got there. So Mexico does not have a pedestrian right-of-way law. What that means is like if you get hit, it's on you. And I'm not even trying to be funny when I say that. The reality is like drivers have the right-of-way, so you have to get acclimated to that. Where in the US, like a lot of drivers will stop for you because it's a state law or a federal law to stop. In Mexico, it's not like that at all. Drivers have the right of way and pedestrians just have to wait and try not to get hit. If you're someone that is looking to go to Mexico, specifically in Merida, and you're looking to ship things to yourself through Amazon or online, I'll tell you that it's damn near impossible. So I had a situation where I lost my suitcase on my way to Merida and I was not able to get it back until the 4th week of my trip, which is literally 1 week before my trip was over, due to issues in immigration and customs with clearing it. Some of the items that were in the suitcase, they basically said cannot be allowed into the country, even though it was in my carry-on, so it would have been allowed through the airlines. But anyways, yeah, basically there was like a whole situation with that. I also recently tried to ship some items to my host family, my beautiful host family in Merida. Basically was forced to abandon my items due to them not allowing liquids into the country without a license. Another random fact is the healthcare system in Mexico is actually so much better than the US. If you want to like visit like the doctor or get like any tests done, it's a lot cheaper in Mexico than the US, and the process is a lot quicker as well. That was something that really stood out to me on my trip there when I went to the doctor, and how much cheaper it was, how much more quicker and efficient it was, even like creating like my appointment. Let's talk about my culture shock experiences in Mexico. So in Mexico, I actually got stared at a lot. And it took me a while to realize that the reason why people were staring was that it was probably their first time seeing a black person in real life, specifically like a black person with like locks. Basically, I had to get used to that wherever we went, that I would get stared at just randomly, even if it wasn't like meant with like a malicious intent. This was another culture shock that I didn't expect. So the supermarkets are so different in Mexico. In the US, like you can go to any store and like anything that you're looking for. There was a grocery store that was close to my host family's house. It was a small like store, but I assumed that I would be able to find like stationery materials there. And when I told my host sister, she was like, no, like they don't have that there. You would have to go to like a bigger supermarket. For the most part, even smaller stores in the US would have like stationery. They would probably have items even if it's not like in surplus, or a lot of those items they would at least have like those items in the store. In Mexico is a bit different, where like the bigger supermarkets were the ones that had everything and the smaller supermarkets mostly just had food items. Another culture shock, the snacks in Mexico were so different. I went shopping in Mexico and I basically just bought a whole bunch of snacks and bought like a lot of snacks that I like to eat in the US, like Ruffles and Cheetos Puffs and stuff like that. And when I tell you, I was shocked at how differently it tasted. But they had like their own seasonings to the snacks, so even like the Ruffles had like their own like taste, and even like the Cheetos Puffs, because Cheetos Puffs is actually like my favorite snack, but even like the Cheetos Puffs in Mexico, even though they didn't have any like seasoning added to it, it still tasted so different. And I don't know what it was. The other people that were in my group as well also mentioned that as well, like how like the Cheetos Puffs just tasted so different. But yeah, like the snacks were different and I was so shocked by that. I had the amazing opportunity to be able to have like food from all over the Yucatan Peninsula, and I think I was just so shocked by how different yet similar it was. One thing for certain that I can say about like the food there is like every single restaurant we went to had like habanero sauce there. I really love spicy food. There's two specific peppers that I used to always like put in my food all the time, and it was always habanero pepper and scotch bonnet peppers. So I was so shocked that like practically every restaurant had like habanero like hot sauce there. The food was so different depending on where you went. I really enjoy like the seafood there. We specifically had seafood like close to like the sea, so in like Rio Lagatos y Celestun. So like the seafood there was like really good, and we also had like the amazing opportunity to try like Mayan like food, and it was just beautiful to be able to experience their culture. Another culture shock, I was just not used to this at all. I know I had experienced it in Costa Rica, so I kind of knew like I had to do it going there, but in Merida, similar to Costa Rica y Panama, they don't flush their toilet paper. Like the plumbing system was just not made for toilet paper, so that was a culture shock that I had to get used to. The last culture shock, my trip to Mexico, I was in like a group like 15 people, so oftentimes we went out, like it was all 15 of us. It is not normal in Mexico to split tabs. Like how in the US they'll give you like separate tabs for each individual person. Like that was just not normal at all. A lot of times they would give us like a receipt with everyone's tab on it, and we would each have to like calculate and just add up like our money together and just pay the tab completely. But it was just not like common at all there to split tabs or to give individual tabs. That was it for today's video. I do want to do a bit more content on different countries that I've been to, so if you want more content like that, share this video, hit the like and comment down below, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.